Let me tell you something that can shift your direction forever. You don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to that hour. Most people are trapped in a cycle where they think the only way to earn more, to succeed more, to feel more secure, is to just work harder on their job. Longer hours, tighter schedules, more responsibilities. But here's what they don't understand. The job is only one piece of the puzzle. The real difference maker is not the job you have. It's the person you become. The marketplace, the world, your business, they're all reflections of who you are. If you want more, you have to become more. And that's where the real investment comes in. The true path to wealth, freedom, peace of mind, and purpose lies in working harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because if you grow, everything else around you must grow too. If you expand, your world expands. Your job is like a mirror. It reflects your habits, your skills, your mindset, your discipline. You could work 10 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, year after year, and still feel stuck. Why? Because time alone doesn't change things. Effort alone doesn't change things. It's the quality of the effort that makes the difference. And the only way to improve that quality is to improve the person behind it. That's you. Let's say 2 people are working the same job, same role, same hours. One of them spends his evenings watching television, browsing the phone, letting the hours pass by. The other person picks up a book, learns a new skill, listens to an audiobook that challenges old ways of thinking, attends a seminar on leadership. Who do you think will be earning more next year? Who will be more confident, more focused, more in control? It's obvious. The person who invested in himself. And this is not about ego. This is about responsibility. You owe it to yourself and to your family and to your future to become the best version of who you are. You owe it to the people who look up to you, to the opportunities that haven't come your way yet, to the potential inside you that's been waiting to be activated. You see, it's not about the job title. It's about the person behind the title, not about what you do, but about what you bring into what you do. If you bring more intelligence, more awareness, more clarity, more heart, more discipline, then the job will have no choice but to reward you. And if it doesn't, some other door will open, because the world can't ignore value forever. Start asking yourself new questions. Instead of how can I earn more, ask how can I become more valuable. Instead of why doesn't my boss recognize me, ask am I someone impossible to ignore. Instead of why haven't I advanced yet, ask how much have I grown in the last 90 days. These questions take the power back. They put you in the driver's seat, because here's the truth. Your growth is your responsibility, not your boss's, not the government's, not your parents', yours. Every day is a chance to take one step forward, one new habit, one new insight, one new action. Personal development isn't something you do once in a while. It's a lifestyle. It's a decision to never stay the same, to refuse to coast, to not be okay with average, because when you accept average in yourself, you start seeing average in your results. Your job might pay the bills, but working on yourself, sharpening your mind, strengthening your character, learning new tools, feeding your spirit, that's what builds a legacy. You don't have to become someone else. You just have to become the person you were always capable of being. That version of you is already inside, but you have to bring it out, and the only way to bring it out is to work on it. Not once, not twice, every single day. Work on your habits, work on your thinking, work on your attitude, work on your words. because the world will never pay you more than you believe you're worth. And the only way to raise that worth is to raise the person you see in the mirror.
Most people live reactive lives. They let their job define their mood, their confidence, even their identity.
But what if it was the other way around? What if you defined how your job felt, how your day went, how much you were capable of? That's what working on yourself gives you. It gives you power. It gives you awareness. It gives you the tools to not just survive the job, but to transform it. Or move beyond it if you choose, because once you grow, your options grow, your vision grows, your belief grows. Suddenly, you're not trying to fit into the world, you're shaping the world to fit you. And it all begins with this one idea, that the best investment you'll ever make is not in stocks, not in real estate, not in gold or silver, but in you. The return is guaranteed. The only question is whether you're willing to do the work. There's a big difference between making a living and designing a life.
Most people settle for making a living. They wake up, punch the clock, follow the same routine, collect a paycheck, and go to sleep hoping tomorrow will be different.
But life doesn't improve by chance. It improves by change. And change only happens when you make a conscious decision to stop relying on the job, to give you everything and start relying on yourself to build something far greater. Your job is important. It puts food on the table, clothes on your back, keeps the lights on, pays for your children's education, maybe even gives you a sense of structure. But understand this clearly. Your job will make you a living, but your personal growth is what makes you a fortune. If you want to rise above average, you have to do what average people aren't willing to do. You have to work harder on you than you do on your job. Because when you become more, you can do more, you can give more, and you can earn more. Most people spend more time planning a weekend trip than they do planning their personal development. They spend hours looking through catalogs and websites trying to find the right shoes, the right phone, the right clothes. But how much time do they spend trying to find the right books, the right mentors, the right disciplines? That's the difference between surviving and thriving. The person who chooses growth chooses to build a future, not just wait for one. Your job teaches you how to do things. It teaches you procedures, deadlines, teamwork, execution. That's valuable. But personal growth teaches you how to think. It teaches you discipline, vision, resilience, faith, creativity. That's priceless, because when you develop yourself, you develop something no one can take away from you. You might lose the job, the economy might shift, the company might downsize. But if you've built value inside yourself, you'll always be able to find new opportunities. In fact, opportunities will start finding you. People are always chasing better jobs, better positions, better pay, but few people are working on becoming better people. Better thinkers, better communicators, better leaders, better listeners. You see, the world doesn't give you what you want. It gives you who you are. And the more you improve who you are, the more you'll attract what you want. That's how it works. Imagine you put all your energy into your job and none into your personal growth. You get promotions, you get recognition, but inside nothing's changed. You still carry the same fears, the same insecurities, the same limitations. Eventually, you hit a ceiling. You get overwhelmed. You burn out. But if you had been working on yourself all along, building character, strengthening discipline, learning how to manage stress, how to influence, how to adapt, you wouldn't just reach that next level. You'd be prepared to handle it. The truth is, people don't fail because they dream too big. They fail because they grow too little. They want more than they've earned.
They wish for success that their current version can't support. That's like trying to put 1,000 gallons of success into a 5-gallon container. You have to become the kind of person who can hold, manage, and multiply what life gives you. And that's what personal growth does. It expands your capacity. It stretches you. It prepares you for the fortune that your current job could never provide.
Sometimes people say, I don't have time to work on myself. I'm too busy with work. But let me tell you, that's like saying, I'm too busy driving to stop for gas. Eventually, the car stops.
You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't expect long-term rewards from short-term thinking. 1 hour a day, just 1 hour invested in your personal growth, can completely transform the trajectory of your life.
Learn something new, reflect on your actions, listen to an idea that challenges you. That's how you rise above the crowd. Some say it's risky to invest in personal growth. What if it doesn't pay off? What if it's a waste of time?
But think about this. What's the risk of not growing? What happens if you stay the same while the world changes? What happens if you never stretch yourself, never develop new habits, never sharpen your skills? That's not just risky. That's a guarantee for regret. Your job pays you a salary. That's survival. But your growth gives you freedom. It gives you choices. It gives you the ability to walk into a room and own it not because of your title, but because of your presence. That's the real wealth, not just money but mastery, not just comfort but confidence, not just income but impact. You weren't meant to just collect paychecks. You were meant to create something greater with your life. And the path to that life starts the moment you decide to invest in your own development. Because when you grow, the fortune follows. Maybe not immediately, but inevitably. The roots come before the fruits, and the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. So plant those seeds now. Every book you read, every morning you rise early, every journal entry, every new habit, every challenge you embrace instead of avoid. That's the real work. That's the real investment. That's the work that pays you long after the paycheck ends. There's something tragic about living the same year over and over again and calling it progress. Too many people get stuck in routines, going through the same motions, having the same thoughts, dealing with the same problems year after year without even realizing it. If you're not careful, comfort becomes a trap and repetition becomes your reality. Growth becomes a stranger. But life was never meant to be lived on repeat. Life is designed for progress, for improvement, for evolution. And that doesn't come automatically. It comes intentionally. You can't keep thinking the same, acting the same, choosing the same, and expect something to change. That's not growth, that's stagnation. That's survival, not success. If you want your life to improve, you must improve. If you want better opportunities, become a better version of yourself. If you want more out of life, bring more of you to life. The calendar turning a page doesn't change anything unless you do. A new year doesn't bring a new you unless you put in the work. Every year should leave you a little wiser, a little stronger, a little more refined. You should be able to look back at the version of yourself from 12 months ago and say, I've grown, I've learned, I've stretched, I've become more. If you can't say that, then you didn't live a year, you repeated one. Time doesn't guarantee transformation. Only intention does, and intention must be followed by action, by discipline, by honest self-evaluation. It's not always about giant leaps. Sometimes growth is slow. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it happens in the quiet hours when you choose to reflect instead of react. When you choose to read a book instead of scroll through endless noise. When you choose to stay disciplined when no one is watching. Those small, consistent choices, those are the seeds of growth. You don't see the results overnight, but they're building something inside of you that one day will be visible to everyone. Some people avoid growth because it's uncomfortable. Change means letting go of who you were to step into someone new. And that requires honesty. It requires letting go of excuses, shedding bad habits, admitting what's no longer serving you. But that's where the power is. That's how transformation begins. When you stop blaming circumstances and start taking responsibility for the person you're becoming. Growth requires you to look at yourself and say, "This isn't good enough anymore," not from a place of self-hate, but from a place of self-respect. Because when you respect yourself, you demand more. You refuse to settle. You raise your standards. You stop tolerating behaviors in yourself that keep you small. You stop letting fear drive your decisions. You stop waiting for someone else to push you. And you push yourself. You see, the world will treat you how you treat yourself. If you stop growing, your environment will match that. If you elevate your thinking, your environment will have no choice but to respond. Because growth is magnetic, people are drawn to those who are moving forward. Opportunities follow those who are expanding. Life opens up to those who are leveling up. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. Growth doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like confusion, like letting go of old friendships, like stepping into new responsibilities before you feel ready, like questioning everything you thought you knew. But that's okay. That's part of the process. You can't climb a mountain and stay in the same place. Growth will cost you something. Comfort, time, old habits, but it gives you something greater in return. Clarity, confidence, and a life of depth. So start measuring your years differently, not by how many vacations you took or how many hours you worked. Measure it by how much you've grown, how many fears you faced, how many books you read, how many days you stayed consistent with your goals, how many times you said no to the easy way and yes to the meaningful one. That's what defines a year of progress. There's a version of you that you haven't met yet. That version is wiser, stronger, more focused, more fulfilled. But you'll never meet that version if you stay exactly who you are. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is called growth. And the only way to close that gap is to move, to challenge yourself, to break your own patterns. Comfort is easy. Growth is hard, but growth is also worth it, because when you grow, everything around you changes. You start attracting new people, new thoughts, new opportunities. You start stepping into rooms you once felt unqualified to enter. You stop asking for permission to grow, and you just grow. And with every step, every choice, every improvement, you build a life that reflects who you really are. Not who you were, not who others expect you to be, but who you are capable of becoming. That's the journey. That's the challenge. That's the invitation. Don't be the same person every year. Refuse to stay the same. Decide to evolve. Decide to push past average. Decide that who you were yesterday will never be enough for tomorrow. The marketplace is not emotional. It doesn't care how long you've been at your job. It doesn't reward seniority simply for the sake of time. It doesn't hand out rewards just because you show up every day. The marketplace operates on one rule. It pays for value, not effort alone,
not time spent, not loyalty, value. The more value you bring, the more the marketplace rewards you.
It's that simple, and yet most people are still trying to trade time for money, thinking if they just put in more hours, eventually they'll be compensated.
But the truth is, time doesn't make you wealthy, Val. You does. You can't confuse activity with productivity. You can be busy all day and accomplish nothing that moves you forward. You can work hard and still fall behind.
Because the question isn't, how hard are you working? The real question is, how much value are you creating? Two people can work the same number of hours and earn completely different incomes. One is paid minimum wage, the other earns thousands a day. The difference isn't time, it's who they've become in that time. The second person learned how to solve bigger problems, how to lead better, how to think differently, how to make an impact that others can't ignore. That's why working harder on yourself than you do on your job is the key to long-term success. You don't become more valuable by default. You become more valuable by design. You design your growth. You choose what skills to build. You decide what habits to strengthen. You decide to read instead of waste time. You decide to stretch your thinking instead of staying where it's safe. That's the work that increases your worth. That's the invisible effort that turns into visible results. The market doesn't care about your background. It doesn't care where you came from. It cares about what you can do. It cares about how well you do it. And it cares about how consistently you show up with that value. So, if you want to increase your income, increase your impact. Learn something that others aren't willing to learn. Do what others avoid, bring ideas to the table, deliver excellence even when it's not expected. Those are the things that raise your value in the eyes of the marketplace. Most people want to be paid more but haven't become more. They want a promotion but haven't promoted themselves. They want the reward without becoming the person who deserves it. But that's not how it works. You can't demand more from life until you've deposited more into yourself. Life responds to value. When you become someone who adds value wherever you go, it's impossible to stay unnoticed. You may be invisible for a while, but you won't stay that way. The world notices value, and the world rewards it. You have to ask yourself what you're bringing to the table. Are you solving problems or creating them? Are you showing up with energy and clarity or just passing time? Are you learning skills that elevate your performance or simply doing what's required? The person who goes beyond the requirement eventually earns beyond the average. The person who improves daily becomes someone the world seeks out. Because talent is everywhere, but discipline, growth, and intentional improvement, those are rare. One of the most powerful ways to increase your value is to become excellent at something. Not just good, not just average, excellent. Excellence is rare. Excellence is noticed. The person who becomes excellent becomes irreplaceable. And the good news is, you don't have to be excellent at everything. Just pick one or two areas, focus, develop, master. And once you reach a high level in one thing, the confidence and momentum will spill over into other areas of your life. You can also increase your value by developing your communication. The world is built on relationships. Ideas are useless if you can't communicate them. Influence is impossible without the ability to express thoughts with clarity. You could be brilliant in private, but if you can't deliver that brilliance in public, in a meeting, in a conversation, in writing, it gets lost. So don't just work on hard skills, work on soft skills too. Work on how you carry yourself, work on your attitude. Work on your emotional control, because people don't just hire skills, they hire trust, confidence, and presence. There's another layer to this idea. The market may not always pay you in money right away. Sometimes it pays you in connections. Sometimes it pays you in lessons. Sometimes it pays you in resilience. The value you bring always returns, but not always in the form you expect. That's why you must continue building even when the reward isn't instant. Because the more you grow, the more you plant seeds, and the harvest comes when the timing is right. The person who takes full responsibility for their value will never be stuck for long. Even when things go wrong, even when jobs are lost, companies downsize, or industries change, the person who's developed value finds a way, because value isn't tied to a title. It isn't tied to a single company. It's tied to you, and when you've built it within, no one can take it away. You carry it wherever you go, you bring it into every room, and eventually every room will start to respond accordingly. People talk about changing their lives like it's some grand event waiting to happen. They think it's going to come in the form of a big opportunity, a major breakthrough, or a once-in-a-lifetime chance. But the truth is much simpler and far more powerful. Your future isn't shaped by chance. It's shaped by your choices, and most of those choices live inside your daily routine. If someone wants to see what their life will look like in 5 years, they don't need a fortune teller. They just need to look at how they're spending today. You don't build a meaningful life in one day, but you do build it day by day. The decisions you make in the quiet, unseen hours when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when no one's expecting anything from you. Those are the moments that define your direction. It's not the big, dramatic actions that shape your destiny. It's the small, disciplined, consistent behaviors that compound over time. That 1 hour you spend reading instead of scrolling. That early morning you use to plan your goals instead of hitting snooze. That meal you choose to prepare instead of grabbing something quick. That conversation you have with yourself in the mirror when you decide to keep going, even when it's hard. These things might seem small, but they are the bricks that build the foundation of your future. The mistake most people make is thinking that the little things don't matter. But the truth is, everything matters. Every decision, every habit, every pattern of thought, it all adds up. Success is rarely about talent or luck. It's about alignment, aligning your habits with your vision, aligning your actions with your values, aligning your time with your priorities. If your routine is full of distractions, your future will be too. If your routine is full of excuses, your results will reflect that. But if your routine is full of intentional actions, your life will start to reflect your purpose. Most people want to change their life without changing their lifestyle, but it doesn't work that way. Your routine is a reflection of your standards. It's what you've decided is acceptable for you. And if you keep showing up to each day with the same habits, the same mindset, the same level of commitment, then don't be surprised when you keep getting the same outcomes. Real change begins the moment you raise your standard for what you allow in your daily life. It begins the moment you say, "I'm no longer available for average." That's when everything starts to shift. Discipline is the bridge between goals and achievement, but discipline isn't a one-time thing. It's a daily decision. It's doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. It's choosing progress over comfort. It's saying no to what's easy so you can say yes to what's necessary. And once discipline becomes part of your daily rhythm,
Momentum begins to build.
What once felt hard becomes natural. What once felt like sacrifice starts to feel like self-respect.
That's the power of routine. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. A powerful routine creates clarity. When you know what your priorities are, you stop wasting time on things that don't serve your future. You stop getting pulled into every distraction, every temptation, every empty opportunity. You become focused. And focus is a superpower in a world full of noise. When you commit to showing up for yourself every day, you start to trust yourself. You build confidence, you walk tall.